Hey gents, I know this will be close to our hearts. There are many Nordstrom fans out there, which will make this interesting, but even if you don't shop at Nordstrom, if you shop for men's clothes, it's good to look at this because there are implications across the entire retail industry. This isn't just for Nordstrom. We'll talk about the retail industry as a whole and the things that Nordstrom and other retailers are facing, and also the reports that the Nordstrom family might take the Nordstrom company back to being private and what that could mean for the 116-year-old retailer. So make sure you subscribe to learn about the best menswear on the internet and also industry analyses like these, and give a thumbs up for going to physical retail stores and buying. Right now we are in what is being considered the retail apocalypse. There are many brands closing and shutting down, and menswear hasn't been hit too hard yet. But as I talked about in my J. Crew video, J. Crew is one of those brands that has been around a long time. They've kind of peaked, their margins are eroding, and they could be the next one to file for bankruptcy within the next 18 months. But you also look at Express, you look at Abercrombie & Fitch, Hollister. Things do not look good for the retail industry, and that's what the backdrop is for this Nordstrom report. Trying to distill the challenges that Nordstrom faces and the retail industry as a whole, I think they can be boiled down to three overarching categories. One is the consumer preference change. It includes many things like the younger customer preferring to have things online, the faster way that fashion has been moving, especially when you've got players like H&M and Zara. And so the overall consumer preference change, not just for the expectation of quality and price, but also for accessibility, has been a big challenge for traditional retailers to address. The second is rapid retail expansion. This needs to be its own video because it's a very fascinating topic, but also a pretty big problem. But Nordstrom hasn't been hit as hard by this as the rest of the retail industry. But to summarize it, we have in the US more square foot space per capita than anywhere else in the world, sometimes 3x more than some of the next countries. And so that's a big problem, that we have too many stores, too much retail space. And last, for retail as a whole, heavy discounting. So us as consumers are trained to expect 30, 40, 50% off of full prices, and then that eats into retailers' margins. And now when they try to raise prices back up or reduce the discounts, we don't want to buy, we go to the next retailer because now they're all competing on price. This is somewhere where Nordstrom gets a lot of credit. They moved to an annual sale and they don't have as heavy of discounting as other retailers. Nordstrom does need to get a lot of credit for the things that they've done right in order to make it this far. They are a 116-year-old company. They focused on service and experience in their stores. Their stores are very nice, they're very clean, they're well assorted, and you typically get very good experiences when you go into the stores. You can make your qualms about having the commissioned salespeople, and sometimes they're a little bit pushy, but overall, the Nordstrom staff typically knows what they're doing, and they do seem to care much more so than other retail outlets. Between the customer experience, the service levels, and heading off those discounting issues, that's why you're seeing Nordstrom fare much better than Macy's, JCPenney, Bloomingdale's. Those are all companies that are having a lot of trouble. That sums up Nordstrom and the retail industry. Now let's talk about the idea of Nordstrom going private. First, we'll look at why they would do it, and then we'll talk about what it could mean for Nordstrom overall. As I just covered, retail is going through a huge change right now, and quarterly earnings and needing to please investors in Wall Street is making it very challenging for Nordstrom to take on big strategic changes, which could hurt earnings, hurt revenue, but ultimately make that investment to be another 100 years. The logic behind the why comes down to they need to make big, sweeping changes and strategic investments that don't necessarily have a short-term ROI, which is what Wall Street looks for. Nordstrom is looking to transform their business to make it another 100 years. Wall Street is trying to make sure that they get their money in the next quarter, in the next couple of years. Obviously, there's a lot of incentive for them to make it a long time. Not every investor has the same time horizons. The Nordstrom family, obviously, much longer than somebody who just picks up some shares. And that does cover a little bit of the what it would mean for Nordstrom. So being a private company would mean that they could make huge sweeping changes to the way that they assort their stores, to the way that they do their customer experience, to the ways that they develop their product. And so there are huge benefits to being a private company. If that's a good idea or not really comes down to no one knows, because the company does have debt currently. The Nordstrom family would need to get private equity in order to help to take the company back private. You then end up with double leverage. You've got the current debt that the company holds, then you would take on more debt with the private equity. They also want their return in the long run, and that does mean that they could go bankrupt in the future. But if you look at it on the alternative side of things, if they don't go private, they continue to be public, and they can't make the sweeping changes that are necessary, they could get their lunch eaten by Amazon as well. So they're really between a rock and a hard place. I don't get paid enough to tell them what to do. This is just an informative video so that you know what Nordstrom is going through and where you might be shopping in a few years or might not be shopping in a few years. I hope this was interesting, gents. I've been trying to take the industry information and industry knowledge that I have and help to kind of give that back because it's something I'm very interested in and you guys seem to be too. I just did my Bankruptcy J. Crew video. I talked about the downfall of Jack Threads, and then I also did the Walmart buying out Bonobos video. You guys seem to like those, and so I'll continue to do this type of topic. Nordstrom is a pretty big one. There is a real chance that in the next 5 years we could lose 3 of the biggest retail companies in the world, Macy's, JCPenney, and Nordstrom, to bankruptcy. And as you watch Amazon rise, they actually do more revenue in the clothing industry than all 3 of those big ones combined. It's a huge shift and it's very interesting. I just think it's something to be informed about. I do have many other ideas that I'm thinking about covering in this series, but as always, I'm open to suggestions from you. This one did kind of come from a little bit of conversation with Brock McGough over at The Modest Man and from down in the comments. And so I'm looking forward to continue this series if you guys like it. As you can see, I'm out on the road right now, but I don't like to let that stop me. If you do want to follow my travels, you can check out @_Kavalier on Twitter and Instagram. I've been posting my Instagram story a little bit more because it's just easy to hit a button and it goes away, so I don't have to make it as cleanly and polished as I like to have my channel. Thank you for your support, and if you haven't already signed up for my giveaway, I'll be giving away Twillery shirts, and I know that you guys are into that stuff. Till next time, gents, this is the Kavalier. I don't like to skip a beat when I'm on the road. I also don't have room in my suitcase for the camera that I typically use, so this is my middle ground where I've got my Rode, my portable microphone, but I just have the camera on my computer. So I guess it's better than nothing, right?